Good morning, students. How you all are? Today I am going to start Class 6, Chapter 9, History, Trade and Towns. Student, as you know, our chapter name is Trade and Towns. Do you know when new towns and cities emerged? Listen. The formation of kingdoms and empires resulted in increase in agriculture and trade. And after that, both internal and overseas trade routes opened up. This period witnessed the development of numerous arts and crafts. These developments resulted in the growth of towns and cities. Now, this period, which period? Indus Valley Civilization was fundamentally an urban civilization with population concentrated in the cities. This already you all have studied. The Vedic civilization, which followed it, was essentially rural or village based in character. Hence, it was not until the period of Mahajanpat and urban centers or towns began emerging once again. This development is also termed as the second urbanization. Students, that was almost a millennium after the highly advanced Indus Valley civilization had declined. After that, the use of iron implements in agriculture in this period greatly increased in agricultural production. It became possible to cultivate larger tracts of land and produce more from the same piece of land. With the help of iron axe, clearing of forest became easy. Iron plowshare make it possible to increase the productivity of hard soil. Thus, there was an extension in agricultural activity both in the north and the south. So, during this period, arts and also craft flourished. So, according to this, some cities emerged and became famous. Iron tools. Better knowledge of cultivation techniques and use of iron tools in agriculture made it possible for farmers to reap different type of rice crop yields. Also more and more land was brought under cultivation after clearing grasslands and forest. New varieties of grains and other things began to be cultivated. All family members worked together in fields. Some families got their fields cultivated by workers under the arrangement of division of crops or payment of land rent. More arable land was brought under irrigation through canals and artificial reservoirs. Water was fed from rivers and reservoirs into the canal to irrigate fields. Agricultural production boomed, and after then, it bringing prosperity to the people. The Nandas built a canal at Kalinga. In the south, Chola king Karikela provided irrigation facilities in the Kaveri river valley. The pasture land lying beyond the village field was a public property on which all people could graze their cattle. Consequently, first in North India and then in the south, there was a tremendous increase in the production of crops and livestock rearing. Growth of farming. As a result of better agricultural production and the growth of craft, there was a lot of extra goods. Village supplied these surplus goods to town. These goods were either used by the town people or they were sent to different regions. This led to trade. With the help of iron axe, clearing of forest, iron plowshare made it possible to increase the productivity of hard soil. Thus, there was an extensive in agricultural activity both in the north and the south. Growth of craft. During this period, craft also increased. The manufacturing of cloth became an important industry. There were famous textile production centers such as Varanasi in the north and Madurai in the south. Both men and women worked in these centers. Each village had potters, weavers, dyers, metalworkers, carpenters, blacksmith, goldsmith, garland makers, basket makers, and other craftsmen. Although craftsmen lived in villages, specific crafts developed in areas where the required raw material were available. Gradually, these areas became associated with such crafts, and the concentration of craftsmen developed into towns and expanded further to become commercial centers. This led to trade. Merchants and traders participated in both internal and external trade. Trade links developed between the north and the south. India also traded with the Roman Empire. Now, growth of trade. As a result of increased agricultural production, there was surplus food in the market. Villages supplied goods to town. These goods were either consumed by people of the towns or exported to other regions. This was the beginning of trade. The rulers promoted trade as it fetched them revenue. They introduced standard weight and measures and checked the quality of good produced. A network of good roads connected important cities like Takshila, Ujjain, Mathura, Prayag, Kashi, Patliputra, and Vaishali in North India. The rivers were also used as a mean of transport. All these promoted inland trade. Merchants and traders participated in both internal and external trade. Trade links between the north and the south developed. South India had overseas trade with Arabia, the Roman Empire in the west, and Southeast Asia in the east. The greater use of money gave great push to this trade. Bharuch in Gujarat was a major seaport. The Greeks referred to it as Barigaza. Ships went from Bharuch to Babylon via the Persian Gulf carrying Himalayan plants, ivory, agate, silk, cotton, and perfume. Import to Bharuch included wine, copper, tin, lead, coral, topaz, etc. The information from Jataka tales it describes that ships traveling from Banaras to Patliputra and further to Champa. From there they traveled to Ceylon, since Sri Lanka, and Malaysia. So these were the routes of trade during that period. And urbanization. The change of village to town or city life is called urbanization. The first urbanization had taken place during the Indus Valley civilization, while the increased pace of urbanization in the post-Mauryan phase is referred to as the second urbanization. Some of the towns that flourished during the post-Mauryan period were Rajgriha, Patliputra, Vaishali, Banaras, Mathura, Kaushambi, Ayodhya, and Kapilvastu. As the population increased, trade grew in volume. More and more money came into circulation. The number of towns and cities increased. In fact, we can say that there was an urban boom. Many of these early cities were the capitals of the Janpad and Mahajanpad. For example, Vaishali became the capital of Vajis, Rajgriha the early capital, and Patliputra the later capital of Magad. Sometimes the cities grew around craft and trading centers. Some of these cities were Sarvavasti, Ujjain, Champa, Kausambi, Tamralipti, and Vaishali. For raw materials, manufacturing and selling of goods, artisans, craftspersons, and traders came together to work collectively in these cities. Vaishali and Varanasi were centers of art and craft, such as textiles, ivory making, etc. Towns such as Kodumandal in Tamil Nadu developed as centers for semi-precious stones like quartz and sapphire. Some settlements became cities as they were located on important trade routes. Some of these were Mathura in Uttar Pradesh and Amravati and Nagarjunkonda in Andhra Pradesh. Mathura, Varanasi, Ayodhya, and Srirangam had a special significance as temple towns. Punch marked coins. The increased use of money enhanced trade and commerce. Archaeologists have unearthed thousands of coins belonging to this period. They are called punch marked coins. The earliest coins comprised of flat pieces of silver or copper of irregular shape. Coins were not inscribed but had a number of punch marks. The earliest coins which were in use for about 500 years were punch marked coins. They have been given this name because the designs were punched on to the metal, silver or copper. They had a standard weight but an irregular shape because these coins were made by cutting the silver bar and then making the correct weight by cutting the edges of the coin. The style of these coins is not artistic, but they do show recognizable designs such as a Buddhist shrine and or animals such as elephant, horse, or lion. Mathura. Mathura has been an important city for more than 2500 years. Around 2000 years ago, it became the second capital of the Kushans. It has been an important commercial center, as it is located at the crossroads of two major routes of travel and trade, from the northwest to the east and from north to south. Mathura was famous for the Mathura School of Art, an art form which developed here. A unique example of Mathura School of Art is a headless statue of Kanishk. Craftsmen of Mathura produced fine sculptures. Mathura was a famous religious center for the worship of Krishna. It also has Buddhist monasteries and Jain temples. Several inscriptions on stone slab recording the gifts made to monasteries and temples have been found in Mathura. These inscriptions also mention the occupation of the person giving the gift. Different occupations mentioned on them are goldsmith, blacksmith, weaver, basket maker, garland makers, perfumers. Mathura was a religious center. There were Buddhist monasteries, Jain shrines, and it was an important center for the worship of Lord Krishna. Now, guilds. The emergence of business communities such as the Seth, Gahapatis, uh, Sartavahas, etc., was also an important factor behind the growth of townships. Early Buddhist texts and Kautil Arthashastra it provide information about the craft person and guilds. During the second urbanization, the trading class grew. People organized themselves into shirins or guilds and made rules and regulations. Each guild had its own president called the Pramukh or Shrestha. It was greatly respected and presided over the settlement of disputes among guild members. Membership to the guild was hereditary. There were two kinds of guilds, merchants and crafts. Traders and merchants comprised merchant guilds, while leather and ivory workers, goldsmiths, weavers, carpenters, etc. forms the craft guild. This guild provided technical training, collected raw material, and distributed finished products. They also sometimes served as banks, where rich people deposited money to be invested in business ventures. A part of it was returned to the people as interest, and a part of it was used to support religious and trading activities. Internal and external trade flourished with the expansion of towns. Some of the major imports were wine, copper, tin, lead, coral, topaz, gold, and silver coins, while the major export were cotton, woolen, and silk, cloth, carpet, medicines, essence oil, ivory, golds, pearls, gems, etc. This period of flourishing trade saw the extension of trading networks not only in India but also outside. Buddhist literature mentions that Indian kingdoms traded with Sri Lanka, Burma, Java, Malaya, and several Western countries too. Thus, port cities were also important. Foreign travelers mention several ports on the east and west coasts, such as Bharuch, Supara, and Tamralipti. Other important ports were Mudris in Kerala and Arikamadu near the present-day Puducherry. Our next topic is Northern Black Polished Ware. Archaeological evidences of black-colored clay pottery with glossy surface have been extensively found in northern India. It gets its name from the fact that it is generally found in the northern part of the subcontinent. Historians associate northern black polished ware with the second urbanization as it indicates a high level of urban development. The archaeological evidence for many other crafts may not have survived. This type of pottery was a special type of pottery that was used by the people during this period. Obvious it was black in color and had a glossy surface. This type of pottery can be traced back to 700 BC. It was during 500 to 300 BC that it reached its peak. The remains has been found in Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, central, eastern and southern India. Pottery of different sizes and with colorful designs have also been unearthed indicating trade with Rome and the Mediterranean region. Some of the objects found here include amphora or double-handled liquid containers with the shape of jars and red glad pottery called Eretine ware. The rulers encouraged both internal and overseas trade. Trade was carried on with West Asia, Southeast Asia, China, and Rome. There was a great demand for Indian goods, such as pepper, spices, dyes, pearls, precious stones, ivory, fine cloth, and even exotic animals, particularly in Rome. In return, India received gold and silver coins, silver ornaments, wine, and various types of pottery, large glass jars, bowls, bronze pots, and bronze statues. Lead in the shape of collytrips seems to have been imported from Rome. It was used for making coins. The export from India to the Roman Empire for exceeded its importers. That was why trade with Rome was in India's favor. A large number of Roman coins have been discovered at various sites in the peninsula. It suggests that Indian merchants, guilds, and rulers gained considerably from trade with Rome. Their settlement could be seen in many trading centers such as Arikamidu, Sopara, and Baroch. The Sanglam literature also refers to the Pandya rulers. The Pandya rulers had trade relations with the Roman Empire, and as such the Pandya kingdom became quite wealthy and prosperous. Life of the people of Tamil Nadu under the Cholas and the Pandyas. Most of the people lived in villages and were farmers. They managed their affairs with the help of the village council. In the hills where farming was difficult, they kept herds of cattle. Merchants, artisans, and craftsmen mostly lived in towns. Generally, these towns were near the coast from where they could trade easily with other people. There were also traders and merchants who went as far as Rome and China. In order to have a better view of the people in towns in Tamil Nadu during the period between 600 BC to 300 AD. Now, Arikamidu. About 2200 to 1900 years ago, Arikamidu in modern Pondicherry was a flourishing coastal settlement where ships continued unloading goods from distant lands, especially from the Roman Empire. In addition to Roman Empire, glassware, lamp, gems, different kinds of other articles have also been found here. Such find includes double-handled jars known as amphora and stamped red glazed pottery. It was known as Argentine ware. A massive big structure found at this site has been identified as a warehouse where things were kept for exchange. Not only this, some small tombs that have been found have been identified with dyeing vats with their probably used to dye cloth. There are several evidences which go to prove that the craft of bead making from semi-precious stones and glass was also flourishing there. Arikamidu. Some historians believed about this city that it was a Roman trading post in India. It was a port town and trading center, modern Pondicherry, where ships unloaded goods from distant lands. Because of its thriving trade with Roman Empire, it was a prosperous settlement during that period. Okay, student, thank you.